We interrupt your regularly scheduled program to bring you another episode of We Can Help with Dave and Woody, already in progress.
Yeah,
It doesn't matter.
it does if you count it.
Well, I guess so.
But anyhow, that's why zip codes have 5 digits.
What about the extension?
That was later on. And you don't even need that. That's one of those
It's
dumb
fake, isn't it?
things. Yeah, it's all dumb.
Is it about getting more stamp and postage out of us? I think it is.
Yeah, well, there's more ink on the envelope, so now it's heavier, and they got to charge us
Yeah.
more. It's the same thing. Yeah, I um, I was part back in the '90s. I guess I'm squinting because it was the '90s.
Looking
I
for a
was
calendar or something?
Yeah. Well, no, that's how I turn that part of my brain on. I squint.
Oh, okay.
Um, I was put on the committee representing my company that you remember when they started splitting area codes and doing over what was called an overlay area code and all that stuff. Like,
No, I mean, yeah, but I never knew the technical terms.
okay, so like 904 originally was like all of northern Florida.
Yeah.
And when they
305 used to be Orlando.
right, and when they were running out of numbers for area codes, you either had to split the area code in half and create a new area code, or you did what was called an overlay, where you just made an additional area code that matched the existing. And so you'd have to go to, if, excuse me, I was in paging back then. And, if you were a buyer of numbers, right, you were allowed to vote in these meetings. So it was the dumbest thing. I'd fly around the Southeast. I represented the Southeast for page, and I knew what my vote was every time. I knew everybody in the meeting because it was the same people from meeting to meeting, and we all had the same vote every time. But you'd have to listen to everybody argue, because invariably local people would represent the area, and someone would always stand up and go, "I can barely remember 7 numbers. Now you want me to remember 10?" And I'd always raise my hand and I'd go, "What area code do you live in now?" And they go, 704. I'm like, 10 numbers. Yeah, let's leave it at that. I think you're okay. Um, and then so we'd always vote for what was called an overlay, because if you split the area code, generally speaking, the metropolis would get the old area code, the
Right.
main, like the
Yeah.
904. And if you noticed, all area codes had either a 0 or a 1 as the second digit, and that was old stuff for old PBX
The
machines.
computers, X and O's.
Well, before there were computers, really, it was more the original switches could recognize if the second digit was a 1 or a 0, then it was going to leave that area code, because then you were dialing an area code, not a local number. Anyhow, long story short,
Oh, that's
because
cool.
I could spend 2 hours putting you to bed on area codes. But anyhow, the whole pitch was we need to keep splitting. We need to keep doing this because we're going to run out of numbers. They were projected to run out in 1996 of 10-digit numbers. Here we are in 2023, and we're now really don't need them because, back then you had a fax machine, you had a home phone, you had a business phone, you had a pager, you had a cell phone. You had 5 different numbers you were managing for one person. And so we were running out of numbers. But
So has the uh, you're saying the folks that we've replaced the home phone with a cell number.
yes,
So
essentially.
so
And
and
your
the pages are
pagers,
gone
fax machines are
and
gone
fax machines are gone.
because you use email.
So there was a fear. I bet there was a, kind of a stress factor, like, oh my gosh, we're going to run out of numbers, and all of a sudden, boom, technology kind of solved the problem.
Yes, it did. Same thing with IP addresses, if you know what one of those are. But
Yeah.
yeah, IP4, we were supposed to already be out of IP addresses, but
Well, you talk to someone about, this falls under the category of nostalgia. Like the fellow that says, "You asked me to remember 5 numbers." I remember I was at the library in Orlando one time, and I ran across an old Orlando phone book, and I looked up my parents' phone number, and it had the like this, CR 259. It had letters and then a phone number, a number. And then I remember we were in Orlando, so Orlando was 305, and when they went to the area codes initially. And then from say Ocala, Gainesville North into Jacksonville and the Panhandle was 904. Tampa, oddly enough, was 813 forever.
Still is, right?
Well, yeah. I think Miami from Orlando south to Miami was 305.
Probably at one time. Yeah.
Yeah. And then 407 came and 904 inched up further up the road. I don't know what they are now. 407,
Well, you're just
954.
so exciting.
I know. And then there was 241. And then 123.
Well, that was the problem. We were running out of area codes where the middle digit was a 0 or 1, and certain ones were taken, like 911 you couldn't use, or any of those codes. So it really limited the amount of numbers you could use. So
Well, I don't want to go any further in the subject for the fear that one of us will fall asleep. But I think it's a kind of people love nostalgia. Anyway, so people love nostalgia, even though we're on video and you're giving me the hand sign that I don't know what's going on. Apparently, Woody has
a guest dog in the
feral
house.
dogs at that house. They're chasing deer through the living room.
Well, she met a deer this afternoon.
Have they found the deer yet?
Yeah, well, the new one did. The deer was starting. I was walking her around the backyard, and a deer came around the home next door and was facing the dog, and the dog simply just didn't know what to make of the deer. Deer just looks like a large dog. Yeah, it just looks like a large dog, I guess. So.
It's called blowing. We were talking about what the deer does when he stamps his foot. It's called blowing. It's when they get pissed off. It's funny because
there's something else called blowing. I don't know what it is.
I believe that's
it rings a bell. We'll bring that up a different time.
Yeah, sure we will. Okay. All right, we're back. This is Dave and Woody with We Can Help with Dave and Woody. Say that different ways. But anyway, we have exciting news, folks. Welcome back. Thanks for tuning in, and thanks for staying with us through the area code numbers. Join us next week when we talk about I don't know.
The migration of snails. I don't know.
Yeah.
What could be less exciting?
Monarchs. Anyway, that's something to watch. But season 4, we're kicking off season 4 with this episode 1. And did you talk to management? Because they reached out to me.
They did not. Don't even lie.
Okay.
Yes.
I'm just trying to feel like one of the important people.
No, but I did. I think I did a better job of negotiating this time. I was able to.
Better than, what was it, $1 or something we got out of it last time?
0.01%.
1%.
Yeah. This time I negotiated for 100 more basis points.
That's another.
What did I get to? Did I fall for that one? Oh, just
I think I'm with Kramer here with the free coffee.
Right. Yeah. No, they said 100 basis points. I'm like, hell yeah.
100 whole basis points?
That's exactly.
Like 1%, isn't it? Okay.
That's such a crock when
all right, don't get into that. We can't do public math here. That won't be good for either one of us, especially with my background. All right, well, I'm glad we got the whole 100 basis points. Season 4, episode 1, and we got a couple things we want to talk about. Some real quick housekeeping as far as where you may find us. If you're watching us tonight on YouTube, you're one of 9 people. Well, I don't know who you are. We don't know who you are, but apparently 10 views last week, and one of them was Woody, and I didn't watch any of them. Well, I watched. Okay, 8 people watched us. And it would probably be less from this one.
No, come on now. We need you to subscribe. If we can get up over 100, we get some additional privileges on YouTube. So
we do? I thought it was 1,000.
1,000 lets you live stream, 100 lets you load bigger files and things of that nature.
Well, I got some big files.
Yeah.
No. All right. So we're on YouTube, and that is We Can Help with Dave and Woody, of course. And you may find us on X, formerly known as Twitter, and that's at Dave and Woody Pod. Dave and Woody Pod, or We Can Help is the tagline. And then, of course, on Spotify, anywhere you listen to podcasts, really, except for the Apple products, because
Yeah. We're not going to give them more money.
yeah, we're
Come on,
not
it's
big
not
enough.
fair.
We shouldn't really go into that because there's some people that are Apple fans, and those Apple guys are diehard people. They're like, oh,
Yes.
you're talking bad about Apple, then we don't want to do any business with you either.
And Apple is that way with their, if you want to carry their merchandise, they're very, very strict
Yeah, well, they got to
on.
be protective because
Well, their gimmick, if you will, is quality, right? I mean, they want to ensure their customers have a consistent level of service, no matter if it's iTunes or phones or computers. I don't find them very intuitive, but
they can charge you a lot.
yeah, and they nickel and dime you is their strategy, right? And they don't
And
nickel and dime you; they dime you and quarter you is the
and
problem.
if you're listening from home and you have an Alexa,
Hmm.
you can ask Alexa to play an episode of We Can Help with Dave and Woody, and she will spin a recent episode for you. So that's kind of cool. Have you ever heard those commercials where they're saying you need to be on voice? We're on voice,
Yeah,
and we didn't even do anything for it. We're just out there
no.
because we're googly.
Well, she
All
won't
right.
play on yours because you're too cheap to buy
No,
Amazon Music.
no, she plays on mine. Alexa, can you play an episode from We Can Help with Dave and Woody?
Playing We Can Help with Dave and Woody from iHeartRadio, resuming
Oh,
playing off the tips, a date with Taylor Swift, and National Bully Awareness Month.
well, there you go.
Buy American. Buy Murray Chrysler Dodge.
Okay, Alexa, stop.
Be
Alexa,
quiet.
stop. One of our big advertisers, Buy American.
There you go.
How about that? We're famous people.
Look at that. Even Alexa knows who we are. That's amazing.
Jeez, we're really come a long way, Woody.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's get going on to something. I don't know what we're talking about. Last week we Woody came up with this kind of thing about famous people.
Well, I had met a famous person.
You met a famous person. How did you package that? What was the confines of the rules?
It was a cigar smoke. Oh, what it means it count as meeting someone famous.
Yeah, just to give a little backstory. You shared a story how you were playing golf with a fella. I think it started
Wayne
with cigar
Cashman.
smoking. What's his name?
Wayne Cashman.
Wayne Cashman of the originally Boston Bruins, right?
Yes, exactly.
And how turns out, small world, that this fella's on the Stanley Cup. And I don't want to retell the story. Listen to last week's episode if you want to hear it.
Please. Yeah.
Multiple times because we get more money when you roll those pre-rolls.
Listen to it in stereo.
Yeah, and we've got retirements to pay for. But anyway, so it started with famous people, and then Woody pushed it back to me. How many famous people have you met, Dave? And I came up with a Michael Caine story, which was entertaining, I thought.
Yeah.
And then a kind of a bevy of Miami Dolphin athletes. And I was kind of stumped. I knew I'd met a lot more people, and I don't want to rule that out. But so over the past week, I've been thinking, I said, wait a minute, I got a lot of people I've met. Not so much that I've met, but they've met me. They sought me out. These people.
Well, as long as it fits the rule of meeting someone, which briefly is they have to acknowledge your presence. So if you yell at them and they look over at you, that counts. You've met that person.
But how do we quantify? I mean, you could like fire off a firecracker and they would look over. That wouldn't count. But how do
if
we
they
know
acknowledge that you were the one who lit the firecracker, that's how that would work.
Okay,
the firecracker, of course, draws
their
I'm
attention. Just saying, how do you? Hey, you counts.
Yeah, because that's you initially making the sound, and they're going to look at you. They're not going to look where the noise, an alternate noise came from. They're going to look at that.
So going to a stadium and being one of 72,000 people, and you yell, "Hey, you!" that doesn't count.
No, because they're not going to single you out, and they have to turn around and acknowledge you. Just because you're in an opera and in the quietest portion, you yell to the diva. And if she doesn't acknowledge you, then it doesn't count. You didn't meet
What
her.
about the usher who comes to take you out?
Yes.
That would be
not
meet,
that he's
right?
famous. Not that he's famous, but Yes, you have met the usher at that point
What
in time.
seats are those that you sit in at the opera? Do you remember?
Luge.
The luge.
Loge.
Loge.
Yeah.
Loogie. All right. So I wanted to go back and revisit some of the people I've met. Is that okay?
As long as it's entertaining.
Well, I'll make it entertaining. I'll make up
I mean,
stuff.
I'll one up you every time.
I don't think
but-
so. I got a couple big hitters. All right,
All
so
right.
I'll go early. I won't tell a story about every one of them. I do have a one. I got a couple good stories, but we'll go. Let's go with the first one. Ronald Reagan, President Reagan. And Woody was like, "No, you never met Ronald Reagan."
Yeah,
But
there's no way you met Ronald
the
Reagan.
truth is, I lived in Orlando, just as Woody did for a while, but I actually I was reared in Orlando. And I happened to be out at Epcot one day, and actually 2 days. The day before he showed up, the Secret Service was out there welding all the manhole covers shut on his parade route.
Well, why were you there 2 days in a row?
I was there for an event. I think I was part of the festivities. I can't remember
You
what it
weren't
was.
working or anything.
No, I was a kid. I think I might have been in a band or something. We might have been in a parade with him or something.
All
I
right.
don't remember. But
All
I
right.
was there 2 days. I got to see the Secret Service. Anyway, so in the parade route, if you've ever been to Epcot, there's a circular section around the world. And I was standing on the sidewalk, the curb, and his limousine drove by. And I hollered, President Reagan. And I'm a formidable size person on the side of the road. And I waved and smiled. And I think the Gipper looked right
Oh,
back
there
at
we
me
go.
and said, young fella, you're going places.
He didn't
He
even
didn't say anything to
acknowledge.
me, but he looked at me. He looked at me and
Were there
waved.
people around you?
Yeah, but I mean, he singled me out. I could see our
No,
eyes
I'm not
connected.
counting this. This is BS. Because everybody was yelling, I'm sure. It wasn't like a quiet, like in a church, and you're like, yay!
Yeah, but it was just, don't ruin this. This is everything I've ever lived for. I mean, this is, you take this away, I got nothing.
I'm
All right. All right.
I'm skeptical
I was aiming for this guy. All right.
because
that's number one.
As a president, you're just simply waving to everybody.
You may have thought I was, I don't want to say that because who knows who's listening. Yeah.
If he
I can't
kissed
remember that
you
was-
like a baby, maybe that counts.
I don't think he could hold me up.
Okay.
I don't know if this was pre-shot or after the shot.
Is this was he? That's what I was trying to think of the gentleman's name who took the Brady. I said, did Brady get out when you started yelling? Did Brady jump out of the car and jump in front?
With his wheelchair? That's funny.
Well,
Make sure
that
make
you're
fun of
nice,
Brady.
Dave. We just lost 6 listeners from YouTube with that joke.
The Brady family.
Yeah, exactly. Nice.
All right. No, I don't want to go there. And okay, so you're going to take Ronald Reagan from me. That's fine. The Gipper. My
I'll give
first
you maybe
president.
a
I
quarter
really,
point on that or
the
something.
first president I voted for. When Carter won, that was really upsetting to my household. All right, so here's a big one. Shania Twain.
It's the same thing. She's driving by, you yell.
No, this is legit.
Oh, no, let me guess. You were at the concert and you yelled,
No.
"Hey, Shania."
I was on the sidewalk, very similar situation, in that big old bus they've got. It says Shania all the way down the side. It says feels like a woman. And I'm like, that's got to be Shania. No, I got a legitimate story. Be quiet for a second. So you may have remembered in a previous episode that I owned a little publishing company, and I had these little magazines I did called Country Nights. And the other
No,
one
you've
was
never
called-
shared this story.
Oh, well, then let me tell you. I told you about the Christmas parade I was in with my friend, didn't I?
No.
Anyway, Country Nights was a little newspaper that was a local scene with country music. I don't know why I did these things individual. If I was smart, I would have combined all the genres into one book and had different pages, but I decided to isolate country music and jazz.
You singled out this one
Yeah.
genre and went after it.
And the smallest markets, by the way. Anyway, so Country Nights was the name of the magazine. It just so happens in Orlando at the time, part of Church Street Station was this thing called Cheyenne Saloon. And the Cheyenne Saloon was a
Is that where Nickel Beer was? Oh, no,
Nickel
that's
Beer
Phineas
was across the
Fox.
street at Phineas
And
Fox.
Phineas Fox, yeah.
But Cheyenne Saloon was, if you've ever been there, was an incredible place. The sad state of affairs, it's still there.
Yeah,
it's
sad. I've seen it.
Well, and it's just mothballed. I mean,
Yeah.
it was truly
It was a great hangout.
Yeah, so they had they had a tour. I think it was called Mercury Records, Mercury Trio. And I'm sorry about the third person. I can't remember who it was, but Shania Twain and a young fella. His name was Toby Keith.
Oh, that young fella grew up to be Toby Keith.
Yeah, so Shania Twain, Toby Keith, and this fella who was kind of like a surfer looking dude. I can't remember his name. They were on this Mercury Trio, and it was their first record label. And Shania was single still. Her manager was this guy named Mud, who I think later on Mud became her husband, and then
Yes,
whatever.
I do remember that because the name just sticks out.
So here's the cool thing. As a representative, I was the press, right, with Country Nights. This is how big Orlando was back then.
So how'd you pull that off?
There's a lot of salesmanship, buddy. So
no, I write for a paper.
I got I got an interview slot with Shania and Toby, and so I got to be on the bus with Shania before the concert, a couple hours.
Oh, this is before the
concert. Yeah, met her, and I said, "Where are we doing this?" And they said, "Do you mind if we go on the bus? It gets me out of the sun, in the Florida sun." I'm like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah. How old are you at this point?
I was in the 80s, 80, 85, 86, I want to say.
So this is before you went to UCF.
Yeah, before you and I met. 84, I got back from England.
All right.
Did I do that before then?
I wasn't there.
It's somewhere between 82 and...
It had to be the mid-80s because I feel like I did
85, 86.
Shania wasn't a thing till I was in college, which started in 85. So probably 85, 86.
Okay. Yeah, I can't remember, but it's in that wingspan. So we go on the bus, and I've got one of those little micro tape recorders, the small tape recorders.
That you used to use in class to get all the notes.
Yeah. And so I said, "Do you mind if we record the interview so I can take good notes to write the article?" She says, "No problem." So anyway, she's in a pair of jeans and a t-shirt, and it's Shania Twain, and we're talking.
Yeah, I'll put on the YouTube version. I'll put a picture of Shania Twain. She was a looker in her day.
Yeah, no, she still is. She's gorgeous.
Yeah.
I don't want to get into the whole interview, but it was really kind of cool because she'd given it. You had her bio, and she was just super friendly, just
right.
like a girl next door. She had a really cool story from being up in Canada where she was from, and just like I'd known her forever. But anyway, so Shania Twain, 45 minutes with Shania Twain. Then I got to meet Toby Keith, but he wouldn't go on the bus. He would talk on the sidewalk out front. And so
it wasn't his bus, was it?
No, they were all in the same bus. It was a trio. They traveled.
So wait a second. Sure, you're on the bus alone with Shania.
Well, I think so. I mean, there was some guy with a gun.
You didn't try to put the moves. You didn't try to put the Dave Theus moves on her.
Yeah, that would have gone over really well.
Hey, listen. At least you would have tried.
I had no moves. Okay.
Well, I mean, you got to think that's your one and only chance.
I do remember saying something very. I think she'll look back on that day if she's listening.
If she ever remembers it,
and she'll say, "That Dave guy was onto something." Because at the end of the interview, I looked at her and said, "Shania, you're going to do well in this business."
This comes from, what was the name of the paper?
Country Nights.
This comes from a guy who writes for Country Nights.
I'm the publisher, and not only the publisher, but the owner of Country Nights. Let me tell you, girl, you're going places.
You're gonna make it big in this world.
Blast into the sky. And she was like, "Wow, Dave, you just made my whole week. I can bank on that, right?"
You're saying she was doing so well, she was playing Church Street Station in Orlando.
Don't even look back. Cheyenne Saloon is going to be so far in the rearview mirror. Anyway, so that
Cheyenne Saloon would have been good to hold 500 people, right?
Oh, at least. Yeah, it was.
No, I meant that. I think that was about cap. Was what, 500, wasn't it?
I don't know. It was a big hall, big place. It was a really cool place. I've actually got the taped interview still. Late at night, I play it when.
Let's back when the missus is out of town. You break out the Shania tapes
and put all the pictures over the walls. No, anyway. So
we need to play some of that on the show, Dave.
you know what? I'll get it out in another episode. I'll make sure it's all good. I've got a friend. Yeah, I'll get it. I swear to God, it's the real deal. And so Toby and I are talking. Now, Toby's a big fella. Toby and I were he might be, I think he played defensive end or something at Oklahoma State, I think, somewhere in Oklahoma. And so I had a little radio gig I did with a little AM station at the time. Country Nights was like a sponsor of a radio show. And so I didn't ask Shania this because I was just so starstruck and dumbfounded. I just wanted to just kind of gawk at her and
Yeah, I
talk to
mean
her.
that's tough because she was, like I said, she was like.
But Toby and it was all business, So he and I are talking. He was kind of stiff, He was I had to ask a lot of questions. He just kind of sat there and he was like, I'm not answering that question, which is kind of like who he is today, which is kind of cool. So then I said, hey, Toby, how about a little, what do you call that when they record
A drop?
Yeah, I said, how about when I'm in Orlando, you listen to Country Nights at
Listen, you
WA5,
read Country Nights. You couldn't
whatever.
even get your own drop correct.
You read Country Nights when I'm in Orlando, but I was in this radio thing down in Kissimmee, Florida. I had a deal with the radio station. And I said, can you do this and mention the radio station when I'm in Central Florida? I listen to such and such radio. And he goes, no, I'm not doing that. And I go, why not? He goes, well, my manager says we can't do that because then I isolate you and then someone else in Nashville gets pissed off. And I'm like, and I said, you're already in the business, man. You're tainted. Yeah. So there you go. And Toby Keith.
I used to record those for people. You remember a guy by the name of Kenny Bernstein?
Maybe.
He's a drag racer. He used to drag race the Budweiser Top Fuel dragster back in the 90s. So I had him in studio and I was recording a bunch of drops for the station.
So just to set the record, we'll close out on these two. Toby Keith saying "Should Have Been a Cowboy." That was his opening, his song. And she's saying, I feel like a woman. Feel like a woman.
Yeah. I was trying to run through the timeline. Oh, here. I was trying to see if I could come up with the Mercury Trio, but I'm not getting any hits on that. So you must have to name a little off. But
Mercury.
But she was from Kinagami Lake, Ontario.
Yeah. Super sweet gal.
Yeah, no, I would imagine so. So
really just salt of the earth. Anyway, so let me wrap this up with my famous people. So the music kind of thing, as I told you, Country Nights, and then I got into jazz, and that was called City Jazz. And
you went from country to jazz.
Well, the country was pure commercialism. I figured that was going to make us a bunch of money, and it didn't. Neither did the jazz, but it was fun.
So you decided to really bomb and move to jazz.
We're going all in on jazz because 2% of the industry, 2% of the market listens to it, and only 1% of that knows what the hell it is. Anyway, so Grover Washington Jr., he was a saxophone player. He's dead now.
He was president of the United States as well.
I don't think so. It's not the same Grover.
Oh, how many
Grover Washington Jr., he was actually pretty cool. I got to meet him several times up at the Jacksonville Jazz Festival, got an interview with him, and the jazz thing, the jazz cats are pretty cool. They could be super famous and they're like salt of the earth. They just want to hang out. Stanley Turrentine, another tenor saxophone, old school, straight ahead jazz guy. Then I got involved in a concert series in Orlando called the Sunset Serenades. And back in the day, we had a hotel down on International Drive, one of the very first big hotels on International Drive called the Peabody Hotel. The original Peabody was in Nashville.
Right, with the Ducks and all that stuff.
Ducks. Yeah. And but they had one in Orlando. And
I remember that.
On the top of the parking garage was the tennis courts. And so what we did is I worked with another fellow. He was the big producer. I was just kind of the glad hand and the PR guy.
Right.
But they would clear off the tennis courts, and it was called a Sunset Serenade. And we brought in George Benson. He was
from the TV show, were the butler.
No, man. George Benson, the jazz guitarist, played a big old Gibson guitar. You know that.
No clue.
Actually, cool story. He's quite a photog. He's He's a photographer buff, and the guy that was my photographer never used a flash. He used a German camera called a Leica. Well, we're getting some big stuff
Yeah,
here.
they're still around.
Oh yeah, they're super
Yeah.
expensive.
Yeah.
But he carried like 3 Leicas with him and no flash, and he was a real artist.
All the pictures came out black.
And so when George Benson, the guy was shooting down front, I got a hold of George. We were going back to the suite. He says, you're with the guy. I felt kind of a little bit sidestep, but I got to do 2 things. He saw my photographer's Leica around his neck, and he goes, "That's a Leica." And of course, my guy lit up, and I'm like, "Hey,
Right.
wait a minute! I'm with him. I'm with the guy with the camera." And so we went back.
Look
to
at my
George's,
badge.
Yeah, we went back to George's suite, and
Well, we don't want to discuss that part.
took a lot of pictures.
What happened in there?
I don't remember much. All I know is it was sunset next, and then
My psychologist has told
sunrise.
me just to forget that. Suppress.
I was in a
those
cab down on
memories.
Church Street. I don't know how I got there. Anyway, so with a camera around my neck and a note.
And if
Anyway.
anybody has those pictures,
George, call me
burn 'em.
George. All I said was I loved it was a great night. Call me George. Anyway, so George Benson, cool cat, super cool cat.
By the way, the guy who played Benson, Robert Guillaume. I don't know.
It's easy for you to say.
Yeah. Anyhow, you mentioned that all these people you meet are nice and stuff. Generally speaking, across the board, that is most people's experience. But the bad stories come out all the time, and I will say the number one profession that has negative stories surrounding meetups is golfers. Horrible stories I hear. When everybody has a story where they met a real jerk, it's usually a golfer.
Huh.
And my father being one of those. You remember Davis Love III?
Yeah, he was kind of a prick.
Well, yeah. And so my father he was at this golf tournament, and he was on a par 5, and everybody was laying up their second shots and not going for the green and 2. And so, it had been all day. My father was just kind of hanging out this all day, and he was near the crosswalk where the players walk by. So he was just sitting there. And finally, Davis Love went for the green and 2, and he went long and off the back and ended up par on the hole. And as Davis Love's walking off the green, my father's like, "Hey, Davis, thanks for trying." And he goes, "I don't play for you." And just walks and kept walking. Like,
I paid the
what
ticket.
was in it for him to say that?
I don't play for you.
I don't play for
my
you.
wife and kids, you loser. Get off my.
Yeah. I always, and I was not part of this story, but I think it was Curtis Strange. But you know how they have to play so many pro-ams per season?
Yeah,
right. The Wednesday. Yeah, they do. And it's awful for them,
peons.
I'm sure.
I gotta run around and talk to you people. I hung out with Jack Nicklaus for a day. That's a great story.
Jack Nicholson, the actor?
Nicholas.
Oh,
he's a prick.
No.
So when I was 16 years old, I was at Boone High School.
I told you, bad story, golfer.
No, he was a prick. He almost made me never want to play the game. But Bay Hill was in Orlando. Yeah. And so I don't know if it was Key Club or Civitan or Interact.
Between the area code story and your clubs.
No, this is really cool though. Listen to this. So we could be the standard bearers, those guys that carried around the
scoring signs. Yeah.
And so this is actually kind of a funny story. I don't know what club it was. Maybe it was football that I got stuck. It was they needed some extra volunteers, so maybe they called on us on the football team. So they gave us a pair of blue shorts, navy shorts, and a blue shirt. Everyone had to wear the same thing, so you blend in. And I was out there, and my parents were famous for this. It pisses me off to this day. They're dead and gone. But anytime I had an opportunity to go somewhere where it was really famous was going to happen, they're like, "No, I don't want to drive you all the way over there. I mean, it's Bay Hill. That's miles away.
It's at least 6 miles away, Dave."
come on, I'm gonna meet these people. And they're like, no, there's better. You could go pull weeds or something. So
Yeah.
so I got a ride out there. I don't know how I did it, but I got to Bay Hill. It was on a Saturday or Sunday. And so the one guy, it was on Pro Am Day, Thursday, I think it was. I got paired up
That's
with
Wednesday is Pro Am.
Wednesday. So I got paired up with not Justin Leonard, but the guy's name was Leonard. He's an older pro way back when. Anyway, if you can
I'll
find
look
it
it
on
up while you're
Google,
talking. Yeah.
something Leonard. So I got running around with him on Pro Am Day. He was super nice. Super nice guy. And so the next day was third. What'd you say? Pro Am was Wednesday?
Yeah. Wednesday, first round's on Thursday.
So the
yep.
first round. So I get there on Thursday and they're divvying up who everybody gets. And they call me and they send me out to the trailer. They didn't tell me who I had. And so they pulled me out of the trailer and said, look, come over here. And I'm like, what's going on? Just who do I have? They said, we're going to put you with Nicholas. And
Oh, sweet.
Nicholas was paired with someone else. I'm like, I didn't even know who he was. I'm like, who's this guy?
What?
And they're like, the bear, Jack Nicholas. I'm like,
You didn't know the Golden Bear, Jack Nicholas.
I've heard of him. And so I saw Lee Trevino that day. I saw the little Rodriguez.
Chai Rodriguez.
That's not easy for you to say. Chichi Rodriguez.
Yes.
Anyway,
it's an old SNL
all
joke.
right, listen to this. So this is back in the day when Nicholas was the stuff, right? Like Tiger Woods.
Well, he always was the stuff, but yeah, keep going.
And so we go around he's playing horrible. Okay, he's not having a good day.
So did you coach him up?
Hold on.
Like say hey, you're casting.
So we go back around the back where most of the people don't follow us around, and we're on this green, okay? And he's got to shoot this. He's got to hit this for par. And he's got it all lined up. It's a pretty long putt. He's got it all lined up. Everyone's holding the quiet signs up. And this little kid, like 5, 6 years old, is in the gallery. And he says something to his mom. You know, he kind of looks up like, hey, is he ever going to hit the ball? Or, you know, I don't know what he does. And so Nicholas pulls off the putt and just glares at this kid like, shut the hell up. He didn't say anything. I guess he didn't have to say anything, but he just pulls away from the putt, stares at the kid. And everyone in the gallery was like going to beat this 6-year-old kid up. They're like, shut up. This is the bear, you know, shut
You're
up.
right. Well, it's a guy. I mean, just in general, you got to be quiet. You don't bring a 6-year-old kid to the golf match.
But as soon as he did that, I was like, what an asshole, you know? And so I didn't know much about the game. I'd never played. I was a football player at the time, and I thought it was kind of for pussies, you know, so I didn't want to play it. So he screws up. He goes 2 over. And now he's, instead of being 2 under, he's 4 over. So I turned the corner with him, and we had to walk, 20 paces behind him. God,
hey, does anybody have a bigger number for Nicholas for this sign?
Yeah, I'm out of cards. You got any extra cards? So I'm coming around the corner, and these people start yelling at me. They're like, "There's no way! You're an idiot, kid. You can't add. That's not right."
What?
Like, yeah, they're yelling at me because he's 4 over, and they're thinking he's 4 under, and I'm showing on the scorecard he's 4 over.
Right.
And people were literally coming up to me and insulting me that can't be. And I remember looking at him going, shut the hell up. He sucks. He was yelling at that kid back there.
Sucks.
He 2-putted over. He's 4 over. Suck it. He's horrible. And so he was just a jerk the whole time.
Was he a jerk to you particularly?
I just think his persona.
All right, Air.
Was being
this whole round of golf, can you count Nicholas as someone you've met?
Oh, definitely.
Did he acknowledged your presence? We had to shake your hand, right?
Yeah, we spoke, okay. And he shook my hand. I mean, I knew who he was, but I didn't know this guy was like walked on water guy. I didn't follow the game. It was horrible to watch on TV. I couldn't stand it.
Right. Yeah, I didn't like it as a kid at all. I never understood it. It got into Disney's Wonderful World of Disney. It always cut into that because some a-hole would tie it up on the 18th hole and it'd go into extra holes. And my dad would there's one TV in the house.
Now I knew who Lee Trevino was, and I knew who Chichi Rodriguez was because they were showmen.
Yeah, but Chichi was he kind of was rude to one of my friends. Chi was. He was only friendly to kids. That was it. He wasn't very nice to adults. So
He was a little fella. He was
yeah.
really small. I
Well, he
actually
talks
met.
about, okay, I was poor. I played on dirt. Okay, we get it. You're
Yeah,
rich now. Let's move on.
I did.
You
I
know?
did actually hit balls with Trevino in college over at Winter Park. He was there shagging balls. He was with his son-in-law or daughter-in-law or something at their house, and he was hitting balls. He was much older, obviously. And I'm walking there. I'm like, "Is that Lee Trevino?" And we walked over and talked to him.
Yeah,
He was
that's
pretty
nice.
cool. He was actually really cool. I mean, he was
Yeah.
the kind of guy that, and that part of the game I feel like we miss because those guys talk to the gallery.
Well,
Who
you talked about Bay Hill. I actually met in I'll tell the real brief story. Arnold Palmer.
Yeah, I got a great story there too. But
We were back when I was in college. We would go to the Bay Hill Invitational, and of course, Arnie. That was his course and his tournament and all that good stuff. So we actually it was general admission behind the 18th green in the stands
right,
back there. So what we would do, we'd get there first thing in the morning and there was probably 5 or 6 of us would go every year. And 2 of us would always stay in the grandstand and save the seats while others went around the course and walked. And that way we always had front row seats for the final hole when the last pairing was coming up to win the tournament. And so Arnie came out and was standing in front of the grandstands because the last group was coming down the fairway and he wanted to be out there to shake their hands and congratulate them to win and stuff. And the group in front of the final group was on the green, and Arnie came out in front of me. And needless to say, I might have had a beer or two at this point in time in the day. And it was a good 9 hours after we got there in the morning. And I was going, Arnie, trying to, and when you've had a few, you're not quiet at all, right? And I'm going, Arnie, like trying to get his
this
attention.
is before the Waste Management 16th hole.
Right, right. Yeah, definitely. And so this group's on the green putting like Nicholas was or whatever. And I'm in the background going, Arnie, trying to get his attention. And being the nice man he is, he turned around.
Super
Like,
nice.
he turns around and goes, shh. So I got shushed by Arnold.
You should have grabbed your throat and said, "I'm joking. I'm joking."
But that's how I met Arnold Palmer. He shushed me at his own tournament. So
We had a fraternity brother that actually worked for him.
Oh, really? If I had known that, I would have.
I think Palvasek. I don't know this for. I think Palvasek worked for our Palmer management in the end. He was actually a client of ours through a designer. He had an office out at Bay Hill, of course, but in his office, the floor was leather. Had this cool little sign that says "No spikes, please."
Yeah.
The entire floor of his office was leather tiles.
Leather tiles. Okay.
Yeah, they were.
I mean, still odd, but okay.
No,
Makes
it was
more
odd.
sense than just a sheet of leather. Yeah.
No, it was leather tiles, and I can't remember what we sold him, a desk or something like that. But I got to meet him there, and then but before that, I worked at Sneaky Feet in the factory outlet mall in 1982, I think it was, and it was one of those discount factory outlet places, factory outlet places.
Oh, factory outlet.
And I was at the cash register, and he showed up with a pair of sweats and some Nikes or something for his
Arnold Palmer was at the outlet mall.
I swear to God. And back in the day when we had the charge card with the
the big metal slider made an imprint on the
so
paper.
We put the carbon thing down. He came to my register. I said, "Mr. Palmer," and he's like, "Hey, how you doing?" He was really super nice.
He always was. Yeah, never a bad story about him.
So he signed the credit card slip, and I gave him his receipt, and I'm like, "I'm taking this." And so I kept the credit card, the yellow copy or whatever it was. I got fired later on for doing that, but
no. Well, I tried to use it. I tried to use the number to buy.
Who knew?
What was the old? Speaking of area codes, what was the area code for those sex lines or whatever? What was it? They were like,
900 numbers.
Yes, where you would build, for every minute you call. You had Arnold Palmer's credit card.
I'm sure. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So, he was a really nice guy. Yeah.
Well, let me redeem Jack Nicklaus because he actually did something very nice for a friend of mine. One time, I lived in West Palm Beach. I was in radio,
Yeah. Right.
and the admin at our radio station, her husband was I wouldn't say golf pro, but he was a assistant pro maybe or something like that at a golf course down there, Aberdeen, if I remember right. And he knew someone, Nicholas famously didn't have a steady caddy on his bag, right? He just used his son's most of the time. To speed the story up, so the admin's husband knew one of the caddies that was used before. Anyhow, Nicholas needed a caddy for the British Open. And so
you were on the bag?
No, I wish. Oh, well, I would have told that story. I would have told that story 30 seconds into our first episode, Dave. if that was the case, to get some legitimacy to me. No, so he ended up on Nicholas's bag for one of the British Opens, and his wife, the admin at the radio station, was British, and so Nicholas, basically says, "Hey, be at the airport." This is back when Nicholas was one of the first to have a private jet and all that. And he says, be at the airport, blah, blah, blah. And so he asked Nicholas, he said, "Hey, by the way, my wife's from Britain and it's our anniversary. Can she, I'll buy her a ticket. Can she, stay with me at the golf course?" And he goes, "No, bring her on the airplane." So he got him and her and her husband got the ride with the Nicholases from West Palm Beach to Britain and back on a private jet.
Wow.
So there you go. So he was a nice guy. You
You
just
know,
caught
he
him on a
might
bad
have-
day.
Yeah, he might have had a bad. I got to meet his original caddy was Angelo, the guy with the big woolly white hair kind of thing.
Oh yeah.
But then he and Angelo had a big falling out. I think Angelo caddied for Tiger early on.
No, that was shoot. He was a bit comedic. The big mustache. And
Yeah, that's
stuff.
him.
That's not his name. You looking it up? Ask our assistant.
Who was Tiger's first caddy?
Yeah.
Alexa, who was Tiger Woods' first caddy?
From GetBuzz.com. Tiger's first caddy was Mike Fluff Cowan, who worked with Woods from 1996 to 1999.
Fluff, you're right.
There you go.
Alexa, did Fluff ever caddy for Nicholas?
See,
I
I
don't
know
that
that.
one.
Yeah, come on, Dave. You'd be more vague.
Hold on. She's supposed to be the infinite in wisdom. Alexa, who caddied for Jack Nicklaus after Angelo?
From Wikipedia.org. For most of his professional career, Nicholas employed Angelo Urgea as his caddy.
There you go. See,
Yeah,
not the same person. So don't even try that one.
Well, they look similar.
Because Fluff was
Fluffy.
Fluff caddied. I can picture him. He was a real funny guy on tour.
Hold on.
Anyhow,
Alexa, who did Fluff caddy for first?
From
No way.
wealthygorilla.com. Furyk's caddy, Mike Fluff Cowan, was
He
previously
switched.
the caddy for the world-famous golfer Tiger Woods. Did that answer your question?
Jacobson. It was Jacobson before that.
All right.
And I don't remember his first name. So
Johnny. Jake.
no.
Jake.
Hey, listen, are you done
right.
telling us your famous people stories?
Well, the last
Because I got a real
Wynton Marsalis, but
yeah, I
jazz
can
trumpeter.
save it for another day. Why don't we save that for another day?
I just
'Cause
felt like I wanted to capture them all.
I have so
All right, I'm
many that I could top you with. It's not even funny, but I got a serious item I need some help with. Speaking of, before I dive into that, listen, people, the whole idea of the show, if you don't want to listen to us go on about how exciting our lives were, voting on area codes and stuff, send us some information you would like to know about or some help with. I mean, we're two old farts that have helped people in the past with issues they're dealing with, or Dave helped develop businesses for people. So if you have any questions like that, feel free to email us at daveandwoodypodcast@gmail.com. And I'll keep your name, we'll give you anonymity. Oh, I can't say that again.
That's a
on
sea
your
urchin,
question.
isn't it?
Right. But that'll yeah, anonymity. The idea is that we're here to help people, hence the we can help. So please send us something. And Dave, I need your help on something.
Okay.
I've been dealing with a medical issue now for almost 2 years. It's going on 2 years, and I have to decide at this point in time. The end of the year is coming up, and I've used the deductible up. The doctors told me the only way I can cure this is with surgery.
Rhinoplasty.
Thanks. Give me a little more self-aware of my large
You said it
schnoz.
last time that you.
I'm not turning sideways. Telling you right now, people.
Okay, go ahead.
Jimmy Duranta. What was his name?
I don't know. Stay with this. Stay with the program.
The problem is that
this feels like a setup.
Well, it kind of is, and it's not. And I talked to my doctor about this. Next question is going to be, well, what's the problem, right? And it requires surgery. And the problem is, it's called tennis elbow, and that's pretty lame, right?
Do you play tennis?
I didn't even get it from tennis. No, I play pickleball.
That's not tennis.
No, and I won the Eddie Hillside tournament circa 1976. Dave, tennis.
I was gonna say they didn't have pickleball back then.
No, they didn't. But they had tennis courts, and I'll avail you with that story someday.
Do you really have tennis elbow?
Yes, I do, and that's the problem. Is people are like, "Oh, what do you need surgery for?" And you're like, "Tennis elbow." They're like, what? Like, it's such a lame name.
Is it Bobby John surgery? Or
well, no, that's your shoulder. Tommy John surgery. That's your
Bobby
shoulder.
John's is different. That's the okay.
So
Tommy
anyhow,
right,
it needs a better name, is what I was talking about.
Oh, then tennis elbow.
Then tennis elbow, and I don't go down in the gutter and say jerk off elbow.
No.
You were going jerk off elbow.
No, well, you've done that, but I that's not me that said that. I'm very much a professional.
Yeah, only when it counts, right? Not when the microphone's turned off, apparently. But so anyhow, I was trying to come up with a better name, like machine gun elbow, or
more masculine, or more.
Yes, more something that sounds. I mean, you go in for heart surgery. The people are like, oh my God, you say tennis elbow, everybody's like, so what? You need a doctor for that?
Quit playing tennis.
Yeah, exactly. It's just a lame name for a injury.
So hold on, let's deconstruct this. Is it like tendonitis? I can't remember. So is it a reattachment surgery? Something's off your bone?
No, what they do, and I'm not a doctor. I stayed in a Holiday Inn, but nonetheless, apparently it doesn't. When you injure it, it's like gets like a scar tissue in it, and the blood flow, it gets minimal blood flow, and that's what makes it hurt. Is it just not?
It's like carpal tunnel, but it's up that further up.
Right, and it doesn't heal. So what you do is you do physical therapy, which I've done. I got a cortisone shot.
You wear that thing way
up there? I never felt like it did anything. You put pressure on that tendon, and it's supposed to increase its blood flow and stuff. So basically, to get rid of it, they drill holes in it to increase the blood flow in the area. And so that'll 9 times out of 10 that'll fix it. They also do stem cell stuff too, but that's not covered by insurance. So
is that where you're like a lizard and you grow another arm?
Yeah, apparently I don't. Like I said, I'm not a medical professional, so if I'm going to go ahead and get surgery on this, I need a better name for tennis elbow. And I'm not going to give you the let me look it up while we're talking about it. I can't even tell you what the
well, you want to make sure it gets covered by insurance. So I know what you're saying. So you're not going to want to go out and recreate some new name, and then your insurance agency or your company's going to go, well, we don't cover that.
Yeah, because it's called lateral epicondylitis is the Latin name or whatever. I'm not going to. No one's going to know what that is, right?
Well, the doctors that are listening will know what it is.
Even I probably did not. So I was thinking,
and maybe the new nurse. We have a new nurse that might be listening.
I was thinking maybe karate chop elbow.
The karate is kind of like tennis.
Really?
Because I'm thinking Karate Kid. The Lotus. What did he do? What was that movie? Did
the crane move or whatever?
The crane.
Yeah.
Sweep the leg.
Well, that Johnny swept his leg, and that's why he had to come back and do that move. Oh man, I feel bad that we don't know that. We should know that for sure. How
Ralph
about
Macchio.
how about pimp hand elbow?
I don't know if I can help on this one, Woody. I'm not a
No.
rename surgical procedure injury guy.
Shotgun arm? How's that sound?
Shotgun. That's manly.
Shotgun arm,
What about
right?
AR-15 arm?
Right down, yeah, could be. I'm not a gun person, so I'm not.
Oh, all right.
I don't like promoting guns, but
Okay,
hey,
that's
if
good.
it makes the injury sound better, why not? More
Um,
manly. Death nail. I was thinking. I got a case of death nail.
I say
Come
you
on.
try that out in the office just to kind of see what kind of response you get. Go into the water cooler going, oh man, this death nail is killing me. I gotta go. What are you talking about?
I got to get
know.
surgery for my death nail.
Yeah, I've been putting it off for a couple years. There's no way around it. The doc says I got to get it done. What are you talking about? Death nail.
I won't tell you. Well, I'll tell you real quickly. I got it when you was in the mouse on my desk.
Is this what the tennis elbow's from?
Yes,
Dude, I'm on to something like that. That's my.
I had 2 weeks where I was putting in these 12-hour days,
Yeah.
and I had to. There was a form I had to fill out. I had to do about 200 of them, and
I got the solve. I did mine's holistic. Go ahead. I got the solve.
And so I was going around, and by the end of the day, my hands were, all gnarled up, and my arm was sore. I'm like, it'll go away when I'm done with this project. Well, the fingers did, but the elbow to this day still, it's just a nagging injury. It doesn't, it doesn't keep me from doing anything. I still play pickleball and stuff of that nature. So I did it. My wife broke her collarbone at the beginning of 2023, and so we used up our deductible quite quickly. So my thought was, if I'm going to do this, do it this year since I don't have to pay as much, but it's still going to cost a couple grand. And I'm like, forget it. It's not that bad an injury.
Collarbone's an interesting story. It only takes 2 pounds per square inch to break it. It's crazy.
Well, she landed on it playing pickleball, and I didn't push her. I wasn't there. So don't even go down that road.
So I looked it up on Mayo Clinic. You look up carpal tunnel. Start with carpal tunnel, and they have a stretching stretching exercises for people keyboarding. High ergonomic stretching exercises for high intense keyboarding. And it's where
intense keyboarding.
You take your I don't know, I can't do it, but you
you bend your wrist down.
Yeah.
Hold your arm straight. Yeah, and then
then you do it up. Yeah. I did. Yeah. I've been doing that, and it's healed it.
Yeah. I do it every morning and then the other thing is you can't do our YouTube listeners, you put a lot of pressure on that tendon and push up towards the elbow. Yeah. And you can also put your 2 fingers right there and give it a lot of pressure and rubbing. All that's just stimulating blood flow to that portion of the tendon.
So you still got, the doctor says the only thing that's going to solve it is the operation?
Yeah, because I've done, the physical therapy and rest, ice, all that stuff, and it just won't go away. So
I feel like zip codes or area codes again.
We started strong.
I don't know what to tell you, Woody. I don't like surgery, so cut it off. Cut the whole arm off.
Well, that's probably an easier solution, cheaper for sure, right?
Get a job at Publix and work in the meat department. See what there's
and slip. Oh. Well, you know what was so dumb is I should have met. It was a new job, and I'm like, should I report this? Because it was at work. I did it. Yeah, I thought, well, it's so stupid. It's tennis elbow. What am I? Going to file?
Do you play tennis on the job? I think that's what it'd be. If I was HR, I'd go, I'm sorry, Mr. Woody. Did you do this while at work? What were you doing playing tennis?
Well, I had to entertain the people. Yeah, I had to entertain the clients. So. No, so I didn't, and because I thought it'll go away, whatever. And now 2 years later, I'm still messing around with it. But like I said, it's not debilitating by any means.
Check that out. I just realized I have books on my bookshelf back there. You see this?
Yeah, in the bottom left.
Bottom left.
I've
never read those before.
I have these books behind me.
And this thing over here, I don't know what that is.
That's a doll.
Transformer or something?
Yeah, without a
Okay.
head though. It's missing a head.
I think the head's lodged in its body. I've never played with that before.
Yeah, well, now you got something to do tonight then. By the way, we should think about wrapping this up. It's pilot simulation training tonight here at the Woody household.
Do you have a simulator, or do you still use the refrigerator box
Well,
or the garbage can?
yeah, the garbage can, and we put some wheels on it, and we run it down the driveway.
Do you use the hatch one for the ejection seat, or is that
We don't eject, man. We ride it
cold-
into the ground. Yeah.
That's the.
Oh, kids
Your
don't play with
neighbors
trash
ever-
cans anymore.
Huh?
Kids don't play with trash cans anymore.
Did you?
Guess. Come on.
I have a really funny trash can story, but I don't know. Remember that one? I don't know. It's really sad.
Remember that one when the guy hit the trash? You were hitting the trash cans?
It's different. This is down there by you and the girl's house. The prankster night that we did with your neighbor. He might be listening. That he'll put it together and go, oh, "You're the guy that did that."
Okay. No, you have to share that another night. So
I don't know if it's past this. I did a lot of bad stuff. I'm starting to recollect. I'm like, wow, what a
but did it hurt anybody?
No, but it probably caused
Right.
some damage, flood damage.
Oh, nice. Well, maybe you shouldn't share that one.
He had it coming.
Which
I think
side?
they had- I
The
think
guy
they
in
had-
the end?
I think if you're looking at your place, it was to the right.
Oh, the guy he was dating one of the girls that I lived there with.
I don't know. Someone said he was a bad guy, and I just felt like it was my obligation to
All right.
remedy the
Well, there you
problem.
go. Didn't take much to get you to do awful things, huh? Yeah.
I think there was alcohol involved. I'm not sure.
No. Did you drink in college?
One time.
Oh, okay. Right, that's the night I met you.
I think it was
Every
my freshman year. No.
You started on day one, and you didn't stop drinking until the last
Actually,
day
it
of
wasn't my
college.
freshman year. I was a pretty serious student then. It was probably my junior year.
You didn't go to
All right.
UCF for your freshman year, did you?
No, well, I did, but it's a long story.
Off campus. All right.
Anyway, all right. Well, let's wrap this thing up. I don't know what we've done tonight. It's season 4, episode 1, and we're kicking off the
Our fourth
YouTubers.
season. Yeah, and YouTube. I tried to drop the episode on Sundays, but subscribe, click the bell. As they say, bell doesn't do anything for us. All that does is alerts you
It
that
just tells
new
them
episodes.
that there's
Yeah,
another one coming up.
right. So it helps you remember to listen to the episode. So please do that. Anything, everywhere. If you listen, tell your friends, spread the word, help us out. Send us some questions. I'll be
Stop
happy
begging. Stop begging. Stop begging.
Okay, Dave.
We got to act like we don't care.
Oh, is that the trick?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, do whatever then.
We don't care if you listen at all.
I dare you to listen,
Yeah.
as a matter of fact.
Double dog dare you. All right, let's
There
get
you
out
go.
of here.
All right.
I'm Dave.
I'm Woody.
You've been listening to yet another. We got to get another word besides titillating.
Stimulating?
It's going to be my job is to get some
All right.
synonyms for that are sound funny. Multiple.
Where,
syllables.
if there was only a place you could do that, huh?
The
Someone should write a
dictionary?
book like that.
The thesaurus.
Yeah, synonyms. Make a book about synonyms.
How do you say that?
Thesaurus.
Thesaurus.
It's not that hard. Roger was his name.
Is that a guy who wrote it?
Yeah, I think it was R-O, anyhow.
That's the guy that wrote a
R-O-G-E-T.
thesaurus. That's the original guy who came up with it.
I think so. We
Was
can
he
talk
friends
about
with-
that next time.
Is he friends with Socrates?
Yes.
All right, let's get out of here. Have a great night. Well, I guess we'll see you next time. See you. Bye.